This is how I did it starting back in 1997.
I started closer to home.
Hello everybody, I'm Joe Ferzoco, that's Chris Ferzoco, and today we are actually going to be sitting here, what do you call it, Fireside Cafe,
Yeah.
you know? We're going to talk a little bit about investment, second home purchases down here at the Jersey Shore, you know, where that may take you in the future. Of course, you know, if you like what you see, you like what you hear, and please make sure you subscribe below, tap that bell for instant notifications, and please hit the like button so you'll be the first to get the most up-to-date market information, happenings, and discussions like this that we have down at the Jersey Shore. So first, here at the Ferzoco Group, we're going to talk about investment properties, second homes, not always necessarily the same thing, but you know, where, I guess we kind of originally were looking at this from a wealth perspective, but really just, you know, starting small and, you know, where is that going to take you, whether it's condos, single family homes or anything like that, and some of the ideas we were going to talk about with that.
Yeah, and really it could be the concept of building wealth if that's what's kind of in your vision, you know, for the future. It could be an idea of, you know, getting just a property for you and your family. Could be any number of things. And we just want to kind of cover a little bit of that journey, if you will, maybe share a little bit of personal insight, personal experience, if you will. But the idea too of just what does it look like, right? So for you, like when you're dealing with your clientele, okay, and you have that initial consultation, that first phone call, if someone starts talking about, let's go with the person that doesn't have a lot of experience necessarily outside of a primary home. What is that conversation like for someone that's looking for a second home, potentially even as an investment? You know, so you know sometimes they do the hybrid. Yeah. You know, it's a little bit of use and a little investment. Talk a little bit about that, and then follow that up with then someone that's maybe going a little bit more. They just want it as an investment property.
Yeah, I think the first thing we always want to get from our clients and discuss with our clients, you know, is this going to be, to your point, like, is this going to be a property for you? Is this a self-use property? Is this truly a second home? Like when when you're talking to people sometimes, you know, I'm looking for an investment property down at the shore. Awesome. You know, that's great that you're in a position that you're able to do something like that. You know, what kind of rental you're looking to do and things to that nature. Well, I'm not really looking to rent it. Okay, so not so much as an investment property. You're kind of looking for a second home. You know, you don't want the old I don't want anyone sleeping in my bed type thing, except for me or family. So you really kind of want to make sure you're all sort of on the same wavelength. You know, you're all kind of like, all right, we're all on the same page here. I'm looking for a second home. You know, whether it's a single person, a couple, you know, a young family, small family, large family. You know, what are those parameters then start to look like? So I think once you establish the usage, then you can kind of take it from there. Yeah. You know.
So I hear you saying that sometimes there's a little bit of confusion on their part from the consumer's part, or when I say confusion, I mean just a misunderstanding of the proper language, that an investment property is not the same as a second home.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Just sometimes one or two words, and it's like, oh, okay, wait a minute. Yeah, I guess I am looking for a second home.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
You do have that, you know, I think you said it before, like you do have that hybrid that, you know, well, you know, I want it as a second home. You know, I might rent it, you know, a couple of weeks here or there when I'm not using it. I'm not going to be able to get down the shore all summer. So maybe I'll take a couple of weeks and I'll rent it. You know, I'll help pay for my insurances or my condo fees, taxes, that type of stuff. So you do have those. It just becomes a matter of how elaborate you want to take it.
Right. Okay. So transitioning from the person that might be the hybrid or second family, because we're going to kind of focus more on the investment aspect of it, and maybe building out a portfolio in real estate or going in that direction there. So somebody kind of comes into the market and they know that they want investment, they want to rent it. Right. What can they anticipate at the shore? And what I mean by anticipate is, like, how often can it be rented? What's the ideal? Is there an ideal timeline for them? Is there on seasons, off seasons? What does all that kind of shape
Yeah.
up like?
And look, I want to clarify this. This is just where I look at it. Someone may watch this video and say, "Oh, Joe, you know what the heck you're talking about. It's, you can get this." Okay, great, man. Have at it. Like, I'm just kind of giving you my perspective as far as I always look at it, that there are 10 prime weeks at the Jersey Shore, July and August. You've got 10 weeks there that are usually your high point rental weeks, for doing that. Sure, you've got Memorial Day weekend, you've got Labor Day weekend. I mean, heck, when I started back in like 1997, renting a property the last 2 weeks of August, that was an easy thing to do. Well, today, sometimes you talk to people and that's a difficult thing to do. All the kids are back to school earlier, kids are back at college. Like, it's impossible to rent the end of the end of August. So it kind of depends. So I would say that if you're looking full on, you've got 10 weeks that you can rent. And then you probably have about 4 or 5 other full weeks that you can rent there, where you're looking at the month of June, depending on what you want to get involved with. There are things that happen in the area, I mean, senior week and stuff like that, senior classes and everything. Like, do you want to get involved with that, with having people at your property? Who knows? In the Wildwoods, in the month of September, we've got some fantastic festivals that go on there. So people do more of like a long weekend. It's not a full week, but maybe like a Wednesday or Thursday through Sunday type of rental. So now you start to get into, would that even be considered like a shoulder month or a shoulder week, where maybe October, early May, before Memorial Day, or like those shoulder weeks, shoulder months, where you start to get some, you're getting rental dollars that, really they could be a bonus to you.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily within your financial P&L of it, and that's extra money.
Would you say that since COVID, when a lot more people started working from home, that had a positive effect on that, maybe more towards like the holiday seasons and stuff like that, maybe people taking a little bit longer in their holidays, or maybe even like off month weekends, taking long weekends and coming down? Do you think there's some attribute to that?
I would say that. I mean, I know I talked to some of our past clients and such, and they talk about people that now they rent their property for the season. They'll come down, Memorial Day to Labor Day, but they're not down here the whole summer.
Yeah.
Like, they're coming down on Thursday, leaving on Monday morning, or something like, along those lines. Again, because of what, came after COVID with the working from home and stuff like that, it just became this, well, I'm going to rent this property for the season down at the shore, and, like I said, I'll come down on Thursday night, I'll leave on Monday morning, or I'll leave Monday night because I can work remotely.
Right. You mentioned that the seasons seem to be extended. So when you're looking at the shore as an investment opportunity, for you've had properties here at the shore as investments. What would be the attraction for someone to want to invest at the shore, just from the standpoint of, not just the summer months, right? So let's try to, we're obviously we're going to keep that in mind because that's the primary rental part of it. But what would make it an attractive rental opportunity or investment opportunity, because now of those opportunities maybe in other months of the year, or at least other weeks, and those kind of pop-in type of trips? Like, what makes it an investment at the shore so desirable?
Well, I think that the one thing that made it desirable for me, I mean, first of all, it didn't start out that way. Like, I bought a little 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo, and it was like, great. I was beach block. I could take a 9-iron to the beach, and it was like sweet. Like, that was never in a million years that I imagined, getting a phone call 2 years later from my agent being like, "Hey, man, if I could double what you paid for it." And I was like, "What?" That was the first wave. Like, that was like the 1999, through 2004, 2005. The attractive thing for me was the fact that it was an hour and 15 minutes away.
Okay.
I mean, I could, whether I could get in my car and just go down and use it myself in the off season, or God forbid something happened at the property, I was only an hour and 15 minutes away. So I think that there was just sort of that peace of mind that it was close. Like, so as you start, I started to do 2, 3, 4 properties, but I'm close enough so that if there was some sort of involvement of myself in managing, I could do that, So that was important. And then, of course, again, being within an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes, you just jump, so it's like, well, shoot, I'm going to come down on Saturday night after work and stay Saturday, hang out Saturday night, go back to work Monday morning or something like that. It was easy peasy.
So when you first bought your first property down here, right? Did you go in it with the idea of this was going to be an investment? I'm going to rent it. I'm going to make money, and then start to build from there. Meaning, like you said, like I got a phone call in 2 years and start selling and sell it, buy another one. Like or did you feel that first one you bought was just going to be one that you were going to have and that was going to be it? Like how did that develop?
It evolved. I went into it with the idea that that was,
that was it.
That was it, man. I was 20 something years old. Boom, got my property at the shore. It was great. I loving life. And then all of a sudden it became, like I said, I get this phone call. So it's like, well, you can flip this one and, that's all of a sudden flipping. Well, you could flip it. I wasn't renovating it, but like you could buy it. And again, it was 2000. So it was all about, future pricing. Well, I remember one point in time having like 2 condos for sale and saying to my agent, like, I think we're a little bit high. No, Joe, man, just give it like 10 days. The market's going to catch up. And sure as you know what, the market caught up to it, So it just became this flip, buy, wait for, flip, 1031 it, 1030, and just doing, just pushing it into the next property. But it became this, yes, I was beach block in a 2-bedroom, I say this little 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo. It wasn't little, but it became this, well, sell that, take the profits, and go into these other condos, and eventually as you start to build them up and sell them and get more and more and more as far as wealth is concerned, I moved back away from the beach, but then circled back so that as each sale happened, I came another block closer to the beach and another block closer to the beach and another, so that the plan became eventually the last property will be, beach block, but that might be a 4-bedroom, 3-bath.
Sure.
The market, by the time I got to that point, thank God I was able, I sold the 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath, got out of that, and just the market at that point, we could see it. It was like, no, this is something. It was like 2005.
Yeah.
Like there's something wrong
Shifting.
here.
Right.
So it just ended up, getting that 1-bedroom, 1-bath, and it was actually on the boardwalk in Ocean City, but it wasn't the pinnacle of what it wanted to be. I was very fortunate that I didn't go to that because, I would have been upside down within probably 11 months.
Yeah, and I mean, you touched on a couple of things there. So it was like the evolution of an idea.
Yeah.
So you went in with the idea of, I'm going to get myself a second home, I'll rent it, that first scenario we talked about, I'll rent it and I'll use it. And it evolved into this, well, based upon the market value, then it turned into, wait, this is an investment opportunity. I can start building wealth.
Yes, because I didn't really have any intention of using it when I bought it. From a standpoint of, I owned the restaurant at that point. I didn't have a bunch of free time, so it was like, okay, well, if I can come down here in the off, if this can be a place for me to use in the off season, that would be great. But in the summertime, I'm just going to rent it,
right?
Because I've got the restaurant. There's just no time for that. So that's where that all started, and then the idea of building wealth to go, to eventually get into a larger property is where it all started. But at no time did I have like 8, 9, 10 property. That wasn't my goal. My goal it wasn't there. I wasn't looking to do that.
Well, the good news was though, you were building wealth though through those properties and using the property to get to the next property, to get to the next property.
It was like stepping stones.
Yeah, you weren't necessarily spending more, though you were, but it was the properties were allowing you to do that.
Right.
And so it became like this investment path for you, like you just said perfectly, in the stepping stones. So when you look at that, so for some folks, when they start to look at this, so you bought down the shore because it was close to home, right? Of course, we have probably the most beautiful beaches on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Most certainly in the Northeast we do. And so now you look at it and say, okay, you're in a different phase of life. And what is that investment idea or wealth idea? Like, where's that leading you now? Like, so the small little idea, the small little 2-bedroom condo, where for you, and where could it potentially lead for other folks that are kind of either getting started with the journey? They might be in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Like, what does that kind of look like?
I think some of it, first it depends what type of weather do you want. Where are you in your your life journey, as far as are you a young person? Do you have a young family? Are you late 50s and okay, not so much going the other way, but it's where are you age wise? Where are you with a family, or just maybe a spouse or a significant other? In that, and What do you want that to look like in 5 years? I think that's always important. What do you want it to look like within 5 years or 3 years or 7 years? And then, as I said, your weather, what type of weather? I joked with you a couple years ago. I was like, okay, I'm starting to look, in the Carolinas or something like that. And it becomes this, I don't want to go, I don't want to have anything less than a parka on. Now granted, I mean, Carolina's now, it seemed, it snowed this year, it snowed last year, it's like, my God. But that's the type of lifestyle that I'm looking for. Playing a lot, play more golf. Like I said, I'm not walking around with, gloves and hat, woolies on and stuff like that, going out taking the dogs out. It's all right. Well, I'm gonna maybe put a heavy sweatshirt on with a long sleeve T-shirt, and sweatpants, taking the dog for a walk, as opposed to maybe shorts and T-shirts. I'd have to be to Florida for that, But again, that idea of what are you looking for there, and then so is that a second, and then so it's a kind of like a cycle. So is that a second home, or is that a rental property? Like, what are you comfortable with when it comes to that? Like, the Carolinas are they're a 9-hour drive for us, or it's a hour and 53-minute flight, but are you comfortable having something like that so far away? That's kind of up to the individual person.
Sure.
But that becomes sort of, I think for myself, it became more about what am I looking for in weather and climate that is going to then benefit what I want to do.
Sure.
Honestly, from a leisure perspective, not a work perspective. Totally from a leisure perspective.
So I just want to circle back to one thing. When we talk about the shore, and we start talking about investments and that opportunity of wealth or whatnot, and we have seen over many, many cycles, now we've witnessed, personally, many cycles, there's ebbs and flows financially.
Sure.
in the value of property here. So when you think about ebbs and flows, though, what makes real estate the attractive investment, especially at the shore, for someone to invest in?
Well, I would say let's take the 2008 to 2012 or 2000 crash, kind of remove that a little bit, because so many people lost so much in that time, and that wasn't just second homes and investments. That was primary homes. I mean, it was it was a banking nightmare. I think that we always talk about the 10-year. 10 years from now, you're going to say, oh, well, if I only bought 10 years ago. Right. Oh, if I only bought, a year from now, you're going to say, oh, if I only bought 10 years ago. And I think that, it's real estate. There's only so much real estate at the shore, on the coast even, really, if you think about it. If you want to go, I mean, Ventnor to Cape May, or Delaware, Carolinas, there's only so much beach. So there's only so much property that you can put in those beaches. Though you will always do well with real estate, and real estate, increasing in value.
Sure.
Yes, will there be ebbs and flows of the market? Sure, you'll have, you'll buy your property, and there'll be a time when you're getting 3, 4, 5, 6% appreciation, and then all of a sudden it'll flatline, and maybe you'll get 1 or 2, a couple years of 1 or 2% decrease in your values, and then it flatlines, and then maybe it's 2% increase, a flatline decrease. Like, there's always some ebbs and flows, but there's always that stair up that you're going to get.
Right.
In purchasing real
I mean, let's
estate.
face it, values are higher than they were in 2008, 9, and 10 when it crashed. Right?
Absolutely.
So it's rebounded.
Sure.
And, rebounded significantly.
Yep.
We do know the effects of what COVID had on all that. But,
Yep.
As of this video, we're 6 years removed from that. And we're still kind of on that same trending path. So what I hear you saying then is that because even though there's ebbs and flows, it's always starting the next flow. The next ebb is always starting at a higher point. So the flow isn't, the ebb isn't so far down. So you're always starting at a higher point anyways. And let's face it, right? Beachfronts at one point in time were expensive when they were only 100,000, and now some of them are 10 million.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they've gone up over time. Yeah. So it sounds like obviously then you're saying long term, it's a safer investment, if you will, because it's always going to have those rebounds in the long term. If you're trying to get into it short term, would you say you're a little bit more subject to the volatility of perhaps with the market if you're just trying to hit a home run in a short term?
Yeah, here's the thing. You're getting in the market, to hit a home run based on the current market condition. I don't mean current now. I just mean you're going to step into the market and say, okay, then I'm going to hit a home run here. I'm going to do well. Based on the current market conditions that you're dealing with, because you're looking to make money. You could have stepped into the market in 2007 and said, okay, market's going down. I'm stepping into this market to lose money. Well, that was a great time to do it. Let me step in, buy a house in 07, and 08 will be worth whatever. So obviously you're stepping in. That's my point with regards to the market conditions. You're stepping in. If you're looking to purchase to hit a home run quickly, you're doing that based on what you're seeing. That might not be right now. But right now it might be that, okay, tomorrow is another, God, 10 years ago I wish I did. And then the next day becomes, God, man, 10 years ago I wish I did. Like, there's always that 10 years ago I wish I did.
Yeah.
So if you don't do it today, tomorrow you're going to say, oh, I wish yesterday I did. And then 10 years from now you're going to say, oh, it was 10 years ago I did. So you're stepping into the market maybe from a long-term perspective, knowing that, okay, over the course of the next 10 years from now, I'm going to say, man, I'm glad I did.
Right.
But if you're looking to step in to hit the home run, it's probably going to be because you're seeing something in the market that's going to allow you to do that.
Right.
Anyone that says, well, I bought a home in 2020, 2021 because I knew in 2024 it was going to be worth X, then why didn't you buy 10?
Right.
Like, come on, man. Like, really, like the market took off. You were very, very fortunate. That's awesome.
Right. Perfect timing.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yep. You stepped in it. And
so final thought with the, investment, building wealth at the shore.
Yeah.
It may be what you were just saying with the idea of in 10 years from now, you're going to say you wish you did, but just kind of taking your experience and how you were able to, as you said, you're down in the investment from the shore towns now into a home in the Carolinas as well. So for you, like, what would you say to someone that's looking at the shore as an investment opportunity, whether it's one particular property they want to rent, or maybe they're looking at building out a multiple property portfolio? What to you is that main attraction, the main benefit?
I think that it's real estate. There's always, you're always going to, real estate will always be worth more. Like it'll always just be in the end. You'll always do well in buying real estate. You will. Again, I'm going to remove that 3-year window there. I mean, and again, I realize that so many people lost so much, but you'll always do well in real estate. I mean, anybody you talk to that's in real estate or investors and stuff, you can't go wrong with real estate. You just can't. And I think that it also just becomes this. It's exciting. I've got a 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo, or I'm going to start off with an efficiency, and it just becomes this. If you do it right, you can rent it through the summer. You can rent it in the shoulder months, in the off season. Maybe with specific things going on. Like at the Wildwood Convention, if stuff's going on there. If you kind of, if you get yourself involved in that loop there, and you can do well, and you've got a place for your own. And eventually, okay, after time, over time, you flip it into the next one. And then you're always kind of setting a goal for yourself too. Like, okay, so in 3 years, I'm going to move it to this, or 2 years, I'm going to move it to this. And market conditions may change, and they may speed that up on you. And that's great. That's exciting. Like, oh, wow, I can do this. I can move that up. I can do that faster. You have a plan. You sit down, okay, this is what I want to do. I mean, for me, I was just looking to buy a property at the beach. And it turned into this whole thing. But for somebody else, it might be, hey, what you're comfortable with. You don't want to be house poor. You don't want to be house broke. Get yourself involved. And, if you're looking to rent it, kind of figure out what it is. Is there a rental history thing? I mean, you don't want to, paralysis by analysis, but it's, all right, this is going to be a rental property. You get yourself either with a property management company that rents it, or you get involved with 2-3 real estate offices that do summer rentals. They take care of it for you. They check people in, check people out. They've got a cleaning person for you. They've got an 800 number when they're checking people in. So if the air conditioning goes at 2 a.m. in July, they're not calling you. They're calling the 800 number that's on that, and someone else's. Yeah, you got to pay for it, but again, it's a service that's there. And maybe over time, you get your own services. You get your own contacts for people that have that. But if you do it right, it can also be like a little side business for yourself, besides what you do for a living.
Right.
It can be that. It can be your mad money.
Nothing wrong with mad money.
No.
Well, that's the conversation today. Joe, thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And that's just a little topic with regards to investing at the shore, building wealth if that's the ultimate goal, looking at a second home for you and your family, or that little hybrid as we talked about, doing a little bit of both. These are just some kind of insights, kind of tips, if you will, and just some opportunity there for you to kind of get the perspective of a real estate agent's perspective on investing here at the Jersey Shore. Mm-hmm. Thanks so much.